Scuba Obsessed, the weekly podcast. We talk about all things scuba diving, from cool new gear to places to dive and scuba news. Scuba Obsessed episode 477 is recorded live January 7th, 2021. Welcome back to Scuba Obsessed. I'm Darrin Jolson, coming to you from Pikeville, Kentucky. Joining me this week, we have Mack the Dive Mentor. How you doing today, Mack?
I think we're doing pretty good if we can stay connected.
Yeah, we've got it. I'm calling this a victory. Yeah, it's only 30 minutes late, so it gave everybody time to get in the chat room, even though it's wait a minute. It says Craig failed to join.
I've got Craig recording.
Yeah, he's recording. Okay, we'll just assume he's recording. So, yeah, that might be when I talk to him. No, yeah, there it is. I got to look at the right order. So he's there.
Now, the podcast night is 477, right?
477? It's 47. It's episode 477. Yes.
Yep. Gotcha.
477, getting closer to 500. Almost there. Yeah. There we go. And I can't blame the internet, because this is a much better internet connection than I normally have.
Well, yeah, and I'm hardwired in, so it's like when we lost that, it's like I still have no idea what went on.
Yeah, well, we'll just say we'll call it good.
It's working. We'll go with what we got.
Yeah. So I'd like to thank everybody who's tuning in this week. We are starting our... Got to do the math. It's gone beyond 10 fingers, so we're on our 12th season. So hard to believe, 12 years now.
I see a new guy in the chat room there. Harmonious Human.
Yeah.
Any feedback on where he's from?
Yeah, just go ahead and type in the chat room. We'll take a look. You can put it in either general, but I look at the live show chat. That's the better one to see. We also have Derek and Eric and Dave joining us in the chat room this week.
Woohoo!
So let's go ahead and jump right on into the news. First article that we have up is a continuation of the Golden Ray. It says part of the Golden Ray heads to Louisiana as the cutting starts. Part of the cargo ship that had become stranded off the Georgia coast is headed to the recycling facility in Louisiana as crews start making a second cut to the Golden Ray. The barge hauling the gigantic bow section of the Golden Ray is expected to reach a destination in the Gulf of Mexico in another week or so. This, according to Brunswick News. Crews successfully cut the bow section at the end of November and placed it onto a barge, the Julie B. The bow section left St. Simons Sound on Tuesday, squeezing under the Sydney Lanier Bridge. The 3,100 metric ton chunk of steel is heading to Gibson, Louisiana. They had that section in the port of Brunswick for a few days. We went down, looked at it. It was awesome and tremendous. And then that second cut, a little bit more. Responders had completed cutting operations to separate the stern from the Golden Ray wreck. They reported that on Sunday. South Korean ship Golden Ray capsized, remember, back in September of 2019. Cutting operations removed the stranded vessel began in November 2020 after a giant crane was placed over the ship. One thing that they have been noting is that they've increased the safety zone around the wreck from 150 yards to 200 yards for recreational available vessels. St. Simons Sound Incident Unified Command advises mariners to please stay clear of their perimeter. Any unauthorized usage of drones around the wreck site is also prohibited. Responders will report any sightings of drones and drone operators to local authorities. Bringing up drones, Mac, did you see the new change on the drone rules that's coming?
Change again?
Yeah,
I just renewed my license, and now I'm going to go back through it just to find out what has changed again.
Yeah, there's a few things, but the one that's most noted is that they're going to require that you have a broadcast device on the drone that will say your GPS position and who you are. And I think it's both on the drone and on the remote control device.
Right, because it'll also show up then on, depending on what kind of panel you have, it'll show up to the pilots too, which is important, especially if somebody's operating it around
Yeah.
an aircraft or an airfield.
It's not a bad idea, especially as these get larger uh, and more prevalent. They've been having problems with people just abusing it, and it's hard to track them down without that otherwise.
Well, I'll tell you what, having a 6-pound object go through your windscreen is not going to be a lot of fun.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I'm kind of curious of who's going to be the first commercial operator doing package deliveries or food deliveries that is going to be operating these.
Wouldn't surprise me if it's Amazon.
I know they've been trying. They were early on. They didn't quite get the special use permit, so they were testing in other countries. But they
Yeah.
have the financial means and the desire and benefit to do so. So I wouldn't be surprised. I
Getting
wonder if
back
there's.
to the other article real quick, I did post a picture of that half sailing out. I would have liked to see it, a picture of it as it went under the bridge, to get an idea of how tall that little sucker was to the bridge itself. I did post that in the chat room.
There you go. And then another follow-up article we have is 3 people are rescued after their yacht drifted dangerously close to the shipwreck of the SS Richard Montgomery. That's that wreck in the UK that is packed with 1,400 tons of explosives. 3 fishermen were rescued from their yacht when it drifted dangerously close to the shipwreck packed with the explosives. The 27-foot vessel was floating near the mouth of the Medic estuary in Kent, close to where the wreck of the SS Richard Montgomery lies beneath the surface. Lifeboat crews were sent from the Sheerness and Kent to help the yacht and those on board with tow ropes, then fixed to pull it to safety. The SS Richard Montgomery is feared to have remaining munitions on board that cause a 1.4 kiloton explosion, which would lead to a 4-foot tidal wave in the estuary. Well, that would have been an easy way to clean it up, don't you think?
Yeah, I posted a picture. I'm not quite sure I would consider that a yacht.
Eh, I call that a day sailor. That's actually about the size of the boat that my family had as a kid. You know,
Oh,
little cabin sailboat. I would say they said that was 23 feet. Didn't quite look that long though, does it?
no. I
And I
just
would.
like the picture of the diver above it, though, in the danger zone. It's like, okay. Or did you see that part?
Oh yeah, ooh, yeah. I'm guessing it being black and white. That's probably an older photo, but
Yeah.
yeah, that would. Yeah, like I said, just get that hammer out there and just tap on the nose cones of a few of those. See how they go. I don't see any follow up of when if they're gonna do anything. Or are they still talking about it?
I talking.
Talking. I just stay away. Well, they did mention we did have an article a few weeks ago where they were going to remove. Was it they're going to remove the mast or something?
Well, that one picture you can see the forward nav section because if
Hmm.
you see in front of it all the way down a little bit,
Yeah.
so that sucker's got to be pretty darn shallow.
Well, those are
Pretty
sitting
shallow.
up, so any of the structures on the deck,
Yeah.
uh, yeah, they've got to be riding up there pretty high. Well, and I can't believe they don't have more of a barrier around it. I mean, those 2 masts with a sign doesn't seem because it's just not those 2 locations that you'd have to be worried about setting off an explosive.
I would think not.
Yeah, another shot shows a buoy. Oh, that one shows it a little bit better. You can actually see 3 structures. Or is that maybe that's something else in the bay?
I can't tell really.
Is
No,
it? Yeah, yeah, and they're in the video. Okay. Well, it didn't go boom yet.
there's always the chance.
And then not too far from where I'm at here, Chattanooga, or Chattanoogan.com, the website, they're talking about the Nickajack Cave, and they're saying, is that a scuba disaster? They said one of the collateral benefits of writing 2 columns a week for the newspaper's occasional comments and suggestions by viewers on new topics. And it says on December 24th, this author wrote an article about the history of the Nickajack Cave and its effect on a Tennessee Valley Authority erecting Nickajack Dam a mile east down the river When the floodgates of the new dam were closed, it would be a permanent flooding of the Nickajack cave and the land in front of it. Although he had mentioned the experience of singer Johnny Cash and Lawrence Ashley, who had gotten lost in the caverns in 1927, that received national recognition. He did not mention the event that happened on August 15th, 1992. A viewer had forwarded a copy of an article called Bat Cave Miracle, uh, scheduled to be published in National Geographic magazine in 2007. Historical periodical conducted interviews of participants involved in near-death experience, where two individuals were proposed to feature a story, a special guest, Stranger Than Fiction, which was scheduled to air in the spring of 2008. The cave has been documented as a site for Indians to perform war dances prior to plotting white settlers in the area, and also an important source of saltpeter to make gunpowder. Uh, They said prior to the closing of the gates at the dam, the abandoned cave had been a popular area for adventure spelunkers to visit. After the water level was raised and flooded, the opening cave, only about 15 feet of the entrance remained, and a few hundred feet of the grotto and ceiling dropped and disappeared in green waters of the lake. They protected the cave since the 80s as a sanctuary for bats. They said further discourage entry, a chain link was placed inside. There's a case in August of 1992 where two young men put on scuba gear and illegally entered Nickajack in search of a giant catfish. Both had been certified open water training, but they had no experience in the sport of cave diving, which requires special training and certification equipment. They got lost underwater in the murky waters, ignoring the safety requirements, and men entered the underwater cave in pursuit of this trophy-sized catfish that one of them had speared the night before, and they believed could be found captured, dead or alive. With visibility limited to about 200 feet, the dive lights had ascended to the greenest space of the rocky bottom. Failing to find the catfish and the air supply running too low, the two experienced cave divers started to head to the surface. It was at this point when things went wrong. Having no lifeline, they followed their air bubbles upward, expected to emerge air-filled portion of the cave, where they were shocked to discover they had made a wrong turn. After panicking, took off in different directions. One of the men was fortunate enough to emerge the air-filled passage with his tank emptied of air and was able to get out of the cave. He immediately notified the TVA, the second security situation. Rescue operations were initiated to locate and save the second diver. Several dive teams were dispatched without locating the second young man. Although several requests were made to locate and bring the trained diver, they were denied each time because of bureaucratic snags that could have cost the second diver's life. Eventually, all three unsuccessful attempts into the cave entrance and try and locate the still alive diver. Permission was finally obtained to bring the cave diver from Huntsville, Alabama, about 100 miles away. Gathering crowd of relatives and friends established a vigil behind the police line of the scene. The story of the survival and rescue second diver, personal experience while waiting for help from drowning and lack of air. Incidents in the miracle category. Captain of the cave rescue team and his lieutenant agreed to make a further rescue attempts on a slight hope the cave diver was still alive by breathing various air pockets in the cave. Rather than further encroaching the story, the efforts of Lane and Curry to rescue divers' own attempts to stay alive. Any interesting readers are respectful directed to the previous mentioned National Geographic series, Stronger Than Fiction. The episode aired in the spring of 2008 to find a miraculous ending that what started as a foolish attempt and capture the giant catfish. Kind of disappointing he didn't go into it. Yeah, you might not want to explore caves without the proper training.
Yeah, I went ahead and posted 2 pictures of the entry area, and one that as if you went first in there. If you come back up in certain areas, you have a cavern,
Mm-hmm.
but the other parts aren't that way.
Yeah, for those listening, he's posted that in the general chat. So if you look at general, you can see that. So that's that cave. Wow, those are some small photos. Well, that's kind of an interesting
Mm-hmm.
section there. Oh, and then Harmonious Human He is Rick from Northern Virginia near DC. Been a few months since I caught the live show. I'm listening while walking the dog, so I can't chat much. So welcome. We don't
I
cover the
would
celeb.
imagine that once you survive something like that, I think you're going to be. You think you're
Oh,
going to be paranoid or extra careful about ever doing that again?
I think you'd be fortunate. I mean,
Well,
I think
definitely.
pizza is going to taste better after you survive that. all all sorts of things are going to be better after you've had something like that. I don't. It depends. It depend on the person. Um, as diving as long as I can, I would. It wouldn't discourage me, but hopefully I wouldn't have made the decision in the first place to do something like that.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, but I could also see hang it up. It's not worth dying for. And then every once in a while, we like to mention celebrities who are enjoying scuba diving, and this one from the Sun, which I think is a UK rag. Brad Pitt and the Red Hot Chili Peppers Flea scuba dive in a tropical getaway, and paparazzis took a variety of photos showing them in the water. It shows our interest. What I find most interesting is that they're on. It looks like a Zodiac.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I would have thought that they would have gone on something a little bit fancier, but uh, I'd say that's even smaller than Bob's Zodiac. He's got a rib. This one doesn't. Almost looks like it might just be a soft bottom.
I would take it.
Oh yeah, yeah. Oh no, it is a rib. When you look at the shot with it coming from the front, you can see. So that's yeah. Oh, no insult, but
That's not a bad boat. It's got a nice top on it. It's got
no,
that console like Bob does. I just
yeah. It's
posted a
got the
picture of it.
yeah. That's right because Bob did change the console. They
Yes, he
he
did.
used to have the center, and now this one's off to the side. Little 50 horsepower Mercury on the back.
Yeah.
And then one spot you can see was that it's called Ribcraft. Did they say where they were? That's I think isn't that Australian version?
I don't know.
Yeah. Cool. Well, glad to see. Hopefully, it gives a little bit more profile to scuba diving. Denver's Mile High magazine is calling ice diving might be Colorado's chilliest sport, and they go into some details talking about it. They said support person helps divers in and out of water 15 to 45 minutes after exploring. Emergency diver stands by below the icy, chilling debris, resulting in clearer than usual water with dramatic ray of light beaming through the entrance. Three-quarters of Earth is underwater. One of the divers said, once you start getting into ice diving, it's another pinnacle of that beauty. And I have to say, I agree. That's a nice photo they had there. Did you see that ice?
Yeah, I posted a picture of it.
Yeah, beautiful. I don't know if it's necessarily cold. I think it's warmer under the ice. Get some nice thermals underneath your dry suit, and it's can
Well,
be
you don't
quite
have the wind.
enjoyable.
You don't have the wind chill factor under the ice.
Oh, it's not going to get any colder than
I
32.
am I am generally warmer under there than I am tending line for 2 hours.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, and now, do you prefer if you have your preference? Do you want to go in the water first, or do you want to go in the water last on an ice dive?
First,
First.
because nobody else is gonna muck it up.
Oh, I see. See, I was just wondering about temperature because you've been staying out there tending the. Yeah, that's true. Yeah, you get in there before everybody touches the bottom.
Yeah, and as
Usually,
long
I
as you don't got a leak or something, you're good.
yeah,
Because if nothing else, you can always go back in the warming shack,
that's true.
take it off, and put the boots on and your other
Yeah,
gear and stay warm.
yeah. I guess it also depends if you're going to be the rescue diver
Oh yeah.
staging or not, because then you still have to be in your gear. Yeah, so we're getting that time of year. What any predictions on ice? Do you think?
Well, I did some flyovers last week, and it's sort of funny if you go out to sister lakes. Magician Lake had probably 80% ice. Round Lake had 80%, and I can't think of what the other one that was out there between them. Can't think of its name. Had zero.
Oh, really?
Uh, Big Pawpaw had no ice. Little Pawpaw, totally ice.
Hmm.
Of course, Little Pawpaw, sheltered, no wind, 30 feet max, sort of made sense. A lot of ponds were frozen over, so if you wanted to get wet, you could. We had some shore ice on the river, and depending on where you're at, if you got some deadheads, you get ice in some parts of the river. But that's about it. Nothing to, thick enough, obviously, to go diving or fishing yet.
Not yet. How's the weather been there in Michigan the last few days?
Pretty darn good. Actually, we were talking about diving again in the middle of the week. Well, Larry and I were doing
Mhm.
a dive. I think Ted has put a notice out on the club site looking for somebody to go diving this weekend.
No? Well, there you go. So that would be in the river?
Well, depends. I mean, you could always go out to Big Pawpaw and do the Forest Beach like we did last week. But I don't know if we mentioned it, but the key item we saw there is weeds are still up, pretty good size. But remember last time we dove it, how the quagga or the zebra mussels were over anything?
Mhm.
They're gone.
What?
Yeah,
They're
it's
gone?
like, wait a minute, what happened to the zebras? The shells are there, but any object on the surface was covered in them. Ain't they're not, it's not that way right now. So either they treated it, or they had something that knocked them out.
Yeah,
So
that'll be
that was a
interesting.
big surprise to us. Big
Yeah,
surprise.
I have to keep eyes out for that.
Yeah, I did take pictures of the pilings and stuff to say this is what it is, and this is a lot better than last year.
Mhm.
But again, a lot of weeds, which surprised me. They hadn't laid down yet.
I would have thought they'd laid down by now.
We did too.
Hmm.
So no fish, no crayfish, nothing live except the weeds.
And what dive was this?
Uh, that's when we made pre-New Year's dive,
Oh, the pre-New Year's dive.
right? The afternoon on a
Okay.
Wednesday, I think it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got rained on, then it froze. It was a fun day.
Yeah, I had plans. I was thinking about heading that way, but I had some tile work to do, so I've been doing tile. I'm down to the last little bit of that project. I've got maybe 10 tiles to put up. They're all cuts, but I'm 90% done with laying the tile. I grouted one section, and hopefully this weekend I get the other section grouted. Well, how about this next story of a shipwreck park adds pirate's treasure chest sculpture? This is off Pompano Beach. There's an underwater art exhibit. Shipwreck Park adds a little flair for those who want to get deep underwater. It has, according to its website, created an underwater park system, established artificial reefs, utilizing public art to raise awareness for the need to preserve and conserve natural coral reefs. In 2016, they stuck to Lady Luck, which is that 324-foot tanker vessel. It was surrounded by 16 other existing wrecks and marine life. Their aim was to make the Shipwreck Park unique underwater culture arts park with underwater art exhibits that would please both Jacques Cousteau and Steve Zizzo. Shipwreck Park recently added its newest addition, Pirate's Treasure Chest. The 500-pound chest was sculpted by, let me see if I can pronounce this name. I got Donald. I can figure that one out. That Gilly Nella, a St. Petersburg-based artist. It was commissioned by Pompano Beach Arts Public Arts Committee. Pirate Treasure Chest has been sitting on the green lawn of the beach for the past year. The intention was always for it to end up underwater, but COVID precautions kept it delayed from sinking. Now the chest is finally sleeping with the fishes at the Shipwreck Park. Press release described the artist process that immediately got to work on a series of orthographic drawings that described the chest from all sides. The sculpture was going to be more architectural than usual style of depicting animals and human figures. You needed the exact quantity of all dimensions before going to complex job of fabrication. Drawings were then transferred to digital files so they could be refined and prepared as CAD templates for laser cutting. Each of the mini aluminum parts were laser cut in computer precision, fitted together, being disassembled, individually powder coated in 3 different colors. The chest was then reassembled, riveted, and welded into its final form. If you got a boat and scuba gear, you can check it out for yourself. So that's powder coated? That's kind of it's a little interesting.
Yeah, I put the picture of that chest. Wouldn't you just love to be swimming out there and come across something like that and have it
Yeah.
like real?
Yes. Oh, wow. How many $1 million would that be?
Yeah.
A good photo op. They
Yes.
seem to have good support down there because
Mhm.
what wreck number was this one?
I don't know.
16 other wrecks, so the 17 wrecks, and then they added that chest. Was that chest placed on a wreck?
It seems to be
Yeah, you can see the
on part
rail
of the
of
deck. Yeah, part of
something.
the
Yeah,
deck.
yeah, yeah. So just another thing. I bet a heck of a lot cheaper than sinking a whole wreck. And then this last article, secret Cold War mission that helped America find the Titanic. And we've talked about this before, but this article out of wearethemighty.com goes into some details on it. But as the story goes, James Cameron, not James Cameron, just making up names now. Robert Ballard, he had requested with the Navy to be able to look for this wreck while he was also looking for a submarine for the Navy. The Navy had originally denied him, but he was able to eventually convince him that he could go looking for it only after he had found the submarine. So, as luck would have it, he found and finished his original mission early enough so that he had time to go look for the Titanic. So, that's the way to do it. Get somebody else to pay for it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, that does it for Scuba in the News. So, let's talk about some diving. Mac, you, as we had talked about, you had a checkout dive that you did there. Was that Pawpaw, you said?
We did Paw over at Forest Beach area because
Mhm.
you got the dock, you got the sand. Uh, the We had probably 5, 6 foot visibility. So if you're on the top of the deck looking down, you could see the bottom very easily. But once you got in the water, your lateral visibility was maximum 5 feet. And then it
Wow.
was hazy. So the video pictures, unless you were close,
Mhm.
ain't too good. Not sharp.
Yeah. How was the sun? Was there much sun out?
No, because when we came up, it was raining on us. We did have people go by and look like, what the hell are you guys doing?
What are you doing there
Are
in
you
that water?
diving? It's like, what is your first clue? We have tanks on our back. We got masks. We're in these funny looking suits. And you say, are you diving? No, I don't know. No, we're just walking around the parking lot. I don't know.
Uh, oh well. I think people ask obvious things to get obvious answers. And then, so how was the New Year's dive? I saw the photos that you had on Facebook.
Yeah, well, we got there early. The water is down. You know where we normally go in behind the theater,
Yeah.
that ramp? Well,
Hmm.
if you want to walk out, you better take your fins off because it's so shallow, and you know how walking in the river is with your fins on, pain in the butt. So we all went out without the fins the first time.
Yeah. Well, I think that was predicted. Weren't they talking about uh, they were getting to their normal winter lowering of the water level to help prevent damage to the dams and the bridges?
I'm not really sure about that part. I know that we did ours in the middle of the week, and then Kevin and Amy went out, and they actually dove the river
Mhm.
away from where we went in because the pipe, you know, the one we mount and then go out, that was pretty much cleared up, meaning it's on the surface,
Mhm.
not much current. So they did their checkout dive there. So they were ready when we went back on whenever the heck that was. What? Yeah, Thursday last. Well, yeah, last Thursday. Jeez. Uh, let's see. Other than the snow, the biggest hassle was ice, and that's on that ramp as it goes down. That was iced over. Amy and Ava, Kevin were smart enough to bring salt. So we salted that
Ah,
whole area. They salted
yeah.
that. So even with our carts and stuff, made it a heck of a lot easier to go up and down.
Wow, that's some
And
thinking.
since we weren't sure what the current was going to be once we got out, I took a good size anchor and our ice diving lines, went up on the pier part, the walkway. We
Yeah.
threw that out into the middle as far as we could, then tied it off, and then we did the throw bags and stuff on the top so the safety people could watch. We had lights up there that if somebody had a problem, we could put the light on them.
Hmm.
And then we went in and did our dive. I came back with one small bottle, and that's it. This was maybe 2 feet once your eyes got used to the darkness with your light. But it was fun.
I bet. Yeah. So how many years is that in a row?
For me, I think 40. We were trying to determine, did we start in 76 or 78? So either way, it's about 42 for me in a row. Larry's only missed one, so he's done 41 of them. And by the way, we were in the paper today in the Herald Palladium.
Oh, excellent.
There's an item there, and then it's in the electronic version of the Niles paper, and it should be in the hard copy paper on Saturday. So that
Very
did give
good.
us some nice coverage. And they brought up the aspect about, are we going to do an ecology dive there again? And I says, Lord willing, and the creek don't rise.
Yeah, hopefully.
And this
We get
damn COVID goes away. So
exactly.
maybe we'll have a chance for it this year.
Yeah, because that was one of the major reasons to cancel it this year is just you can't do the support like you need with
Well,
everybody trying to social distance and
yep. And last year we had the flood. So
yes.
we haven't done it for 2 years, but not because we didn't want to. It's because Mother Nature both times.
Yeah. Yeah, hopefully we're due. This is the year. Yeah, we're gonna get that in and going again. That was fun.
Yeah. So hopefully, I think Kevin went out again the next day, I think. Bob went to Gilboa. They dove the New Year's Day dives.
Mm-hmm.
So those are the only ones I know who went out and got wet.
Yeah, very good.
But Larry and I talked the other day, and we're going to definitely get out either, well, it won't be this week, probably next week. So you want us to give you a buzz when it'll be a high noon dive.
You can. I'm thinking probably not going to be able to fit it in.
What are you doing wherever you're at again? In Kentucky?
In Kentucky. Well, actually,
Where are you at?
I am in Pikeville, Kentucky, which all I know is it's down through this cavernous valley. I guess this is they're saying after the Panama Canal, it's one of the largest and most expensive earth moving projects ever. Starting in 1977, they excavated because they were having problems of flooding. And as a story we heard today, one of the visionaries in the town was getting tired of being stopped by the train on his way to work. So they moved a bunch of photo. In fact, let me post
What
the
did they
sign.
move?
They moved the railroad and the highway. And it took like 12 years of blasting and moving. So here, I think I've got the photo. I'm going to try and stall here in enough time to download the image. Because I have an image. We went to one of the outlooks here. So
Are you in that hilly portion where they terraced the side of the cliff?
yes.
I posted a picture. I didn't know if that was where you were at this time.
Yep, download. And but the reason we're in town is that my daughter is going to be going to med school at the University of Pikesville.
Oh.
So we went down to visit the area and see about housing, and we toured the campus today, and a really impressive program.
Very good.
Yeah. So yeah, she hasn't officially accepted, but I'm got an inside word that she probably is.
Is that the University of Pikesville?
Yep, University of Pikesville.
Okay.
So
There's a little hilly around there. I was just looking at the
there's a
pictures.
lot of hilly. The truck has not been happy. I'm when I get back in town, I'm gonna have to go and
Well, she's going to have strong legs going back and forth to some of the classes there.
well, they've got a set of stairs there. It was called the 88. Now it's the 99. They've got 99 steps, but they've also got elevators.
See the one I posted?
Ah, yes, I did. That's it right there. That's those
I've been
steps
through
are.
there before.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
What were you doing in the area?
Back in my day, I used to hitchhike a lot.
Oh, it's through Pikesville.
I have hitchhiked all the way from, Alabama, all the way up to Michigan. I used to do that on the weekends. I could hitchhike from Huntsville, Alabama to Hertford, Michigan in 12 hours. And considering, but that was back in the 60s. And if you hitchhiked in uniform, people would always pick you up and give you a ride. You'd always get a free meal. And they always said, "My boy's in the Army. Do you know him?"
Oh
No
yeah,
matter,
you know,
no matter who picked you up, they would always ask, "Did you know their son?"
because if you didn't, that'd be the time that it was that
Yep.
that you would have. So yeah, here I posted a photo of the sign, and it says that the cut through project, the dream of Dr. William Mambley, is the largest engineering feat in the U.S., second only in the world to the Panama Canal. Of course, this is when the sign was made.
Yeah.
It was started in 1975 and finished in 1987. The cost was 77 million and some dollars, and 18 million cubic yards of earth removed. The project eliminated disastrous flooding by the Big Sandy River by moving a 4-lane highway, a railroad, and a river through the mountain. But yeah, this university they've got there, the medical university, has done wonders for the town, because you can, between this project and then that university, you can, the area seems to be doing quite well.
Well, it's a good day's drive, but I mean, that's a doable one there
Yeah,
for visiting.
from yeah, it was about 8.5 hours. I mean, probably 10 by the time when you figure bio breaks and stuff. But yeah, definitely a little bit more elevation change to what I'm accustomed to.
Yeah.
And as I'm looking, I'm like, is there any dive spots? There that river does not look like anything you really care to dive in. I do see fishing boat ramps, so the people must be getting the river to do some fishing.
River's good down there. A little mucky though. And you do have a lot of good dams down there in Kentucky and Alabama, Tennessee area.
Yeah. Well, as we were driving in, before I knew about this project, I was thinking, gosh, if they have flooding, there's really nowhere you can go. I mean, you're kind of trapped. It's amazing how steep the sides of the valley is.
Mhm.
So that's what we're doing. I'll be heading home tomorrow sometime. Well, Mac, do you have a dive safety story for the week?
Well, I do as soon as I can find it. I had it, and it's like, where the heck did you go there, buddy? I had it before, but as I was looking for that other stuff, I had,
If not, we can always save it for another week.
well, it'll take me a minute. Let's see if I can find the darn thing.
Well, while you're doing that, we'll do the quick plug for the program. So
Oh.
hopefully everybody's enjoying the program. If you're getting any sort of value out of it, we'd certainly appreciate your support. Head on over to our website, www.scubaobsessed.com. Click on over the Patreon link. $3 or more gets you early access to the show notes. Then we've got some things we want to work on this following year. I'm looking at some new software for helping record audio, and we plan on having some video projects that we'll be doing, and those will be happening sooner than later. So, Mac, at some point, I've got some other software we'll be using for recording that might improve the audio quality even a little bit more than what we currently have it.
Well, unfortunately, I cannot recover whatever it was that I had.
Okay,
Damn it.
well, that's fine. We'll hit that one up next week.
Here we go.
Oh, you found it?
Ta-da!
Oh, there you
Yes, I
go.
did. As soon as it comes up for me, we will. All right. Well, the title is pretty good. It's called Damned If You Do. Diving too close to a intake pipe proves deadly in this edition of Lessons for Life. Cal and Harry were sitting pretty, enjoying a river drift dive in favorable conditions. After pausing for a moment to compare pressure gauges and seeing they were good on air, they decided to continue from the small feeder stream into the river and the pool behind the dam. And that's where they got into trouble. The divers. Both men were certified, but neither dived regularly. They typically went with friends only to the local lakes and quarries. Cal was 38 years old and Harry was 36. Neither had any known medical issues. The dive. Cal and Harry met with 3 friends for what promised to be a unique dive. They planned to make a drift dive down a local tributary river that fed into a larger one and end the dive at the confluence of the 2 waterways. There's a boat ramp there, and that's where they decided to exit the water. One of their buddies left the truck there to take them back to their cars. A group of divers made a shore entry and swam to the middle of the channel in the stream. Once they were all ready, they agreed to descend, began floating with the current, 5 divers in all. They planned to dive as a large group, but ended up splitting into 2 groups of 2, leaving one diver by himself. The leader of the group brought along a dive flag and let it trail behind them on the surface. Air temperature was in the 90s, water temperature in the low 70s, and the divers relaxed in the cool water as they drifted with the current. The tributary river was only 20 feet at its steepest, and the divers hovered around 15. The accidents. Now, Cal and Harry realized they'd entered the main river when the current stopped pushing them along and they had to swim again. Divers checked their air supply and realized they each still had half a tank of air. At that point, they could have swum back upstream towards their exit point, but instead, they decided to explore the main river and the dam pool nearby. There's a hydroelectric dam just downstream from where the stream entered the river. I wanted to see the inside of the dam and check out the water intakes. Now, other divers had told them how large the intakes were and that you could approach them only when they were shut down. They knew it was dangerous if water was flowing through the electric plant, but they were sure they had a few hours before the gates opened. The dam staff, or the staff of the dam, normally opened the spillway in the afternoon when the demand for electricity was at its highest. They didn't want to miss this opportunity to share their own stories at the dive shop. The divers didn't. The 2 men began making their way towards the dam. They didn't notice anything was wrong until they got too close to the intakes. By then it was too late. Water was flowing from the river through the hydroelectric plant, and both men were trapped. The other 3 divers in the group serviced at the meeting place and exited the water. They waited half an hour for Cal and Harry. They got nervous. Something must have gone wrong. They searched the stream and the river looking for bubbles. They were unable to find any signs of the missing divers. Because Cal and Harry had gone beyond the dive plant, no one on the surface knew they were searching in the wrong place. Authorities began on the stream and worked their way towards the river and the dam. They were concerned the divers had gotten hung up on a sunken log along the way. The bodies were recovered the next day. The official cause of the death was drowning. Because of high air temperatures and increased demand for air conditioning, the electric authority had changed the schedule for the hydroelectric plant. Signs in the area stated no fishing, swimming was allowed at any time because the schedule was subject to change without notice. Guards often kept people away from the dam on the surface, but there was no way to know the divers had approached from below. And they weren't diving with a flag because it was with the other divers who exited the water at the agreed upon location. The analysis. Commercial divers routinely dive around water intakes at industrial facilities, but only when the intakes are turned off and secured. They know getting too close to water intake is dangerous, can be deadly. Since neither diver returned, there was no way to exactly know what happened or how they got drawn into the intake. But both divers were found with no air entangled in the grates that covered the water access. Typical water intakes around electric plants are built in such a way that water can flow all around an obstruction and not trap a diver. They have a cage built around the actual intake that allows water to flow in from the sides as well as from the front, minimizing the suction that would prevent a diver from escaping. It is possible these intakes were older and not built to current standards. Regardless of the reason, 2 men injured in an area they knew was dangerous and paid for with their lives. For some people, the appeal of visiting places that are off limits is exciting, but there are reasons authorities keep people away. So, lessons for life: dive your plan, create an objective for the dive, and stick to it. Avoid commercial installations. Without the proper training and equipment, there is no good reason for recreational divers to dive around industrial locations. Understand local conditions. When diving around or even near dams and spillways and water intakes in rivers and lakes, it's easy to get trapped and die. No dive is worth losing your life, whether it's a matter water intake, a cave system, or a wreck. Don't enter a place you're not prepared for or properly equipped for. The only other item I'll add to that is spillways, or what they call, where you've gone across a lot of rivers that have had engineering done to have a little bit of a drop or a spillway is what they call it, to slow down the velocity of the water. Raisin River is a good example of that. Where it drops over that 3 or 4 feet drop can sometimes create a hydraulic.
Yeah.
And I have seen 50-gallon empty drums go over the fall, get caught in that hydraulic, and sucked to the bottom, back up, and it's you got a nice vicious cycle. If a 50-gallon drum can be sucked down, you sure as hell can be. And you can't get up.
Yeah, you're not going to have the buoyancy of a 50-pound drum.
No, you have got to watch out for hydraulics. And again, you can do a day whenever it's really good, low flow conditions, get away with it. The next time it's a little bit much more and you didn't realize it and you're screwed.
Yeah, we've covered that on the program before. Local divers who have died because they've gotten into the hydraulic situations.
Yeah. The biggest one we have where we're diving is one, you got the French paper dam, but they've got the buoy line across it, and you really don't want to go past that buoy line, even on the bottom. Because all you need is a nice little siphon hole that is not apparent. You get your arm or leg caught in it, and I guarantee you cannot pull your leg out. We had a person die on the Berrien Springs Dam that way.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a commercial diver with commercial rig. And the other one is stay away from the hydraulic where they release the water. That's another bad place you don't want to be diving.
Yeah. Just because you did it once doesn't mean you can do it twice.
Right. I mean, because the flow velocities can change. Like the 3 intakes there at the Cook plant, they're 300,000 gallons per minute flow rate per pump. Unit 1 side has 3 pumps. Unit 2 has 4. You ain't going to go against that flow rate.
Mm-mm.
And even though their grills are designed that you have water coming from, it's like an octagon, all the different sides, I will guarantee you, if you go there when they have the max flow rate and the other one's cut off, you will stick to the grill like a waffle iron.
Yeah, because they want to keep that plant cool. They're not going to risk it you got redundancy for a reason. So
Right.
Oh, very good. Yeah, it's a tragedy. You just want to do everything not to put yourself in that situation.
But it's easy to get yourself to do that. You know as well as I do. Sometimes you finish your dive and it's like, wow, I got time to do a little more. But if you did, you should have gone upstream so people know where you're at. Number 2 is I don't understand why they didn't all have flags. Because we do our drift dives and we have flags.
Yeah.
And we know too that when you do have a bunch, based on what you're doing and how much you're going to gawk or grub, you're going to get stretched out. Some people will get to the end and have, 1,000, 2,000 pounds of, 1,500 anyway, pounds of air. And some people have to change their tanks halfway down.
Yeah. Well, if you're in the river diving, you taking a look at something or maybe you try to go upstream a little bit and visibility. It's really a solo dive we're doing a river dives. Yeah, it's just so difficult to stay all right together. So everybody needs to have their own flag.
Absolutely. And again, that's why when we have new people, we babysit. And there's nothing wrong with babysitting a new diver. It's fun. I mean,
Yeah,
because I get my enjoyment out of their enjoyment.
yeah. It's fun doing a dive like that.
Yeah.
Well, let's see. You have anything you want to plug before we get on out of here?
Well, the libraries are finally open, at least in my locale.
Hmm.
So, as Kevin would say, go out there and support your libraries because they have a lot of items that aren't on microfilm.
Yeah.
And a lot of it won't be, especially local books that are not, people who write, when I was a kid in Hartford, which they
Yeah.
do, and there are books like that. That's where you like to get and look for stuff that happened, where things got lost. What about where they used to swim? Gives you lots of clues of what you might want to go look for.
Yeah. When people hear about stuff being digitized, that's very large companies. I think Microsoft and Google are some of the best known for doing that. But they're hitting a large institution that has an archive. If the book you want isn't in that archive, it's not going to get scanned, and it's taking. Uh, I haven't heard how many decades, but it's not something that even the books they have access to now are all going to get scanned in a reasonable amount of time. So got to keep supporting these libraries and not necessarily just your libraries, but your historical organizations. Some of them are republishing, so they're taking those stories and updating them with maybe some new information and publishing them out. And they may have original documents. We've got the Berrien County Historical Society there, Berrien Springs at that museum. They've got some. You got like the Heritage Center has some archives. So there's a lot of stuff that it may take longer than our lifespan before they're going to be stored, if ever.
Right. And if you've never really been and did any kind of research, it's like I've been to all the ones you've mentioned, looking for, let me go through the history of this. Because if you metal detect on the surface and you also dive, you got two areas you're looking at. You're looking, where were the parks back in the old day? Where were the campsites for the old days? And if you're looking for a river, it's like, where did they used to have the boats docked at? Where did they have events at on the river?
Hmm.
Uh, you know, doing a lot of paperwork or paper searches saves you a lot of time in the river and on land.
Yep. Well, thanks. Thank you, everybody, again who's in the chat room. Are you ready for that time of the show?
I am sitting down.
Okay. Well, this couple purchased an old home in northern New York State from two elderly sisters. Winter was fast approaching, and the couple is concerned about the house's lack of insulation. If they could live here all those years, so can we, the husband confidently declared. One November night, temperature plunged to below zero. They woke to find the interior walls covered with frost. The husband called the sisters to ask him how they kept the house warm, and after a rather brief conversation, he hung up. For the past 30 years, he muttered, they've been going to Florida for the winter.
That does make me think of something. Did you see that one in the paper? Or I found it someplace. A family had bought a house over 100 years old. And you know how old houses have histories, like there's a body buried somewhere in the wall,
Yeah.
there's treasure, they were rich. Well, these people were bootleggers.
Ah.
And it's like, well, they might be or they might not be. So they bought the house, they were renovating it, and they went out and they had videos of where they started ripping off, you know how you have most of the older houses were not built on the ground, they had elevation.
Yeah.
So it had the sidewalls. So he started ripping off the sidewalls, and along all of the walls were two bottles, because he obviously was a bootlegger, totally wrapped up and encapsulated along all of their walls on the outside of the house. Hundreds of bottles.
Wow.
And they are going to keep some and sell some.
I wonder, I mean, did did he pass before he had a chance to get him or forgot him or
I don't know, didn't say that aspect of it, but that's one of those, damn, that was true. And the pictures, I'm see if I can find that just to send you for fun, but it's like, that would have been awesome to find in the water or not in the water.
certainly would be. Well, on that note, go out there and get wet.
And stay safe. And like everything else, it's easier to say that than do it sometime.
Yeah.
Because you get carried away with something or you find something, or I don't care what you do. It's always when you're down to 600 pounds, that's when you hit the little treasured area that, damn, I'm starting to get some bottles now. It never fails. About the time you give out of air is when you find something and you need that extra time to go back and dig it or get the lift bag and you don't have any more air. Never fails.
I also find that you also get warmer when you find something interesting. I can be chilly in a
Sometimes.
dive. I can be chilly in a dive and think, it's about time to come up. And then you see something interesting and you forget about how cold it is.
Well, it depends if you got a dry suit or a wetsuit too. Sometimes you can get warmer
Yeah.
slightly.